couple of housekeeping things before we get going. So this card is your gold card. This is the one that goes to N263 to Becky Hustleton. If not, we get charged $10 for every card that doesn't get turned in. They certainly don't cost that much, but that is the way it is. So we need those cards back before you leave. And then your dorm key goes to the dorm. And if you have, preferably, if you have that envelope that it came in, if at all possible, please return it inside that envelope. And that'll be great. But the main thing is the key. The key is $250. And that's just the way it is now. I don't know why. It's not inflation. It's something else. Okay, so those are kind of the housekeeping things. But thank you guys so much for being here. It's been an awesome week.
Credit.
And the professional development credit, the QR code, I think you received via text.
I sent it out.
Yeah.
Got it.
So you can just submit that, your total hours, and then hopefully soon, but within the next month, I would safely bet 4 weeks. This time I'm not traveling. So 1 year I was in Sweden on a park bench. and my computer was not working, so I couldn't use because I can't export controls. I couldn't take my computer, so I did it all by phone, one at a time. So I sat on a park bench. It was not that rough, trust me.
Great vacation.
Being in Lexington, Sweden was not that rough, and I had plenty of time. But this should be, but we're working now with a new office, so who knows the way that's going to go. But you should get a letter and all that stuff. And this one's going to be more official. It's officially CPE. It's official credit recognized by the state of Texas when it didn't used to be. But if later on you're like, I lost mine, and usually right before Thanksgiving, I get a bunch of emails where people are asking, because in Texas they're wanting to miss that day of professional development just before Thanksgiving. Okay, I think that's that. Today's presentation is auxiliary percussion with Dr. Ryan Boehme, who's just finished his first year here at WT, replacing Susan Martin-Tarek, who was here for 40 years. And boy, it's been an awesome year. We've definitely selected the right guy. Incredible musician, you can tell by the concerts last night and the night before, and an even better person. So please welcome Dr. Ryan Boehme.
Thank you, Russ, for the introduction. Thanks for being here. Today we're going to talk about auxiliary percussion. This is my one slide for the presentation. So the QR code links, links to a video series I made, and I'll keep this brief. But I taught percussion methods during the COVID-19 semester. And so during that semester, I made some videos for my class in case they couldn't make it to class. They could still kind of keep up with learning all the different instruments and techniques. And I still have them on my YouTube channel. So it's kind of instructional videos for each instrument. These instruments that we'll talk about today, but also snare, timpani, keyboards, drum set. And I tried to keep it entertaining and engaging and a little cheesy because it was for college students. But the kind of usual pattern for percussion is like there's just not enough time to talk about everything, unfortunately. So if we don't get to something today, you'll see it in the video. Or if anyone has to kind of leave early for any reason, which I understand, then the videos will hopefully be helpful. If the QR code doesn't work for any reason, you can just kind of Google my name, Ryan Boehme, percussion, and you'll find me on YouTube, I hope. Today we'll start with tambourine. This is one of my favorite instruments. It's just there's a lot we have to kind of be creative with on this instrument. And there's kind of composers, kind of what I found from all eras of compositions, tend to kind of write stuff that is just kind of, if we don't really know a lot of different techniques and ways to kind of manipulate this thing, they can kind of look like they're almost impossible parts to play. So for general tambourine playing, I'm going to get some things out of my pocket to talk about kind of how we hold the instrument, because for tambourine, one of our hands is holding it, one of our hands is striking it. I like to hold with my non-dominant hand. I'm right-handed, so I'll hold with my left hand. If this is kind of the frame of the tambourine that you're looking at here, I do not put any fingers or thumbs in this hole. If you have a hole in your tambourine, this is more so for like kind of mounting it on a cymbal stand. If you put a thumb or finger in there, or if a student does, it might hurt, especially once we start playing. so I wouldn't recommend it. So we'll kind of just go around that. I'm going to kind of just hold the frame so that my thumb rests gently on top. And then down here, you can see my pinky and my index kind of curl around. I like to have 2 fingers on the head here. If we kind of listen to it without the fingers on the head, then with the fingers on the head, helps to kind of dampen the head sound. We don't get as much oh, oh, and a lot more of what we want with tambourine, which is that kind of jingle-focused sound. If we kind of talk about different angles, here's a flat tambourine. Let's see how we feel about this. Do we like that? I hear some, right, I see some head shakes. Okay, we're onto something here. Well, surely this might be the move then. How do we feel about this one?
Shirley doesn't like it.
Shirley doesn't like this one either. Yeah, so here, gravity kind of makes the jingles kind of do the jiggle. A lot of extra stuff we don't really want here. Gravity's not really affecting us too much, but it's a really long release. If we have a 45-degree angle, we have a very happy medium between that. Gravity keeps the jingles down, but it's not so much that we get the blah, 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 blah. As far as striking the tambourine, can I see everyone's best Italian hand? A spicy meatball. Pardon my, the best I could do. Now, and can I want you to do this for a second? And I want you to know, I want you to look at your wrist and see how you're doing this. It's all from the wrist, right? For the most part, it's very wrist-led. You know what else is wrist-led? Snare drum, timpani to an extent, marimba. So your students, whatever they do on snare drum and other percussion instruments, can apply that here as well. So my spicy meatball, upside down. If I keep my fingers together like I did here, we have kind of a more focused attack. I can experiment with kind of other articulations by kind of trying different amounts of kind of opening the fingers. So I'll play this, and we'll see what happens when I do this. What differences do we hear? A little softer, yeah, like kind of a little more.
A little bassier, or like the open got taken off a little bit.
This one was bassier, or that one was bassier?
The open hand sounded bassier to me. But
Gotcha.
I was gonna say like the attack sounded a little bit more spread out instead of focused.
Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of we're closer to the jingles with all the fingers here. Here, we're kind of everything is just kind of in one spot. So usually kind of a more punchy sound. Results may vary from tambourine to tambourine, but just kind of making your students aware, like, these are things we can experiment with. I would call this a pretty decent mezzo forte sound. If I want to play even louder, I could maybe incorporate some more velocity or some more arm into it. But what I can also do is kind of change the shape of my implement again. You might show this one to your students. I can understand if you wouldn't, but if we kind of ball up our hand into a fist with the thumb on the outside, I'm not going to do this, but if I kind of have these parts of my fingers on the tambourine head and make a little air pocket kind of with the bottom of my palm and the space here, I get a nice pop sound. So for like our rooftop accents is what I like to use for that approach compared to this. And for really soft playing, I can kind of take this, what I had here, the spicy meatball, and just kind of start taking some fingers away. And as I do that, we get a little less volume that way. Any other ideas for how I can make even softer sounds than this? Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm kind of right off center for right now. But just like snare drum, as we move closer to the edge of a membrane, we get less volume. So as I move closer to the edge, and I'm going to kind of aim for being right over this jingle. It's pretty soft. I could even add some more dampening to the head. Maybe I put my palm on the head for even a little more. So here's without the palm on the head, and with the palm. You can get like. Can you hear that? No. Just kidding. Maybe you hear it a little bit. But so there's a huge range all the way from this to this. Would someone like to try some of these sounds? Come on up.
Well,
Oh, you have a question? Sorry.
I had a question.
Yes, please.
The dampening of the head, is that more of a characteristic tone that we're going for, or is that more of a personal tone preference?
So for characteristic tone, that's a great question. With tambourine, for me, it's primarily like if I can get the most jingle focused sound I can get, and then from there, kind of also some of the punch and the kind of attack of the sound. What I don't want is the kind of the long resonant sound of the head here, this kind of or that sound. But like here, for instance, we don't really get a lot of the punch at the softer end, so the kind of this helps to kind of just get that jingle focused sound a bit more. But some punch at the soft end might be a bit desirable as well. That's sort of a broad answer, I suppose, but does that answer your question? Kind of. Very just as jingle focused as we can make the sound is what we're aiming for typically. Yes. Do you have another follow up to the question or?
Well, I can see that having that head sound, if you're doing something that sounds kind of Eastern kind of music, that would be kind of characteristic of that.
Kind of more imitating like a Rick or a Pandero kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it would be good to have that option, especially. So you could experiment then with fingers on the bottom of the head and fingers off for some more of that tone if that's what you're looking for. For general playing that most of the pieces that I played, typically having the muffling on the head tends to get the most desired effect. But I think experimenting with that is definitely something that we percussionists do all the time, and something good to try with your students as well.
Mario was going to volunteer.
Oh. Mario, you Mario? Come on up, Mario. While you're coming, do you have a question up at the top?
What brand is a good brand of tambourine for a bunch of 7-year-olds?
Great question. This is a Black Swamp tambourine. Black Swamp Percussion. There's also Grover, Grover, is another great brand. Those are the two main. I'm not affiliated with either company, but I'll just say I've had great experiences with both companies. I think price-wise they're fairly comparable as well. Black Swamp Percussion, or BSP for short. What I have over here, this is a more kind of specialized tambourine that I probably wouldn't get for 7th graders again. This is a Ron Vaughn tambourine. I like this one because it has the little comfort grip, the Ron Vaughn. So Grover and Black Swamp are typical ones. This is a limited edition Black Swamp. You don't have to get the limited edition for your students. But generally around $150 is a great price to spend. Less than $200 will get you a nice tambourine for sure. How about we start with just kind of holding the tambourine.
So my dominant hand is my right hand, so I should hold it in my left hand.
Yes, and then the space between the jingles will be the kind of most comfortable place to hold. We'll kind of gently rest the thumb on top, and then adding, if you would like, some muffling on the bottom of the head. I like to use 2 fingers, but for some people, depending on hand size and finger size and stuff, maybe one finger will do the trick. And then for me, I kind of like to have the tambourine my arm kind of looks like a lollipop pretty much. So the tambourine is kind of just right in the center of my arm. Let's see how this sounds. How about just giving us a spicy meatball? Nice. You want us to remove some other dynamics and articulations?
I'll try.
Please.
So 2 fingers.
Okay. Oh, I like this. So kind of unaccented, accented. Okay, that's cool. How about some more?
Let me try that knocking thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not dampen.
Yeah. Another way to do this one is to just and you might show this one to your students, just kind of having the fingers kind of out and making just contact with the palm. Yeah.
Can you talk to me about this versus this, where I recoil the drum back?
Well, let's hear the difference. Can you do those A and B one more time? Yeah, so for me, I guess what I kind of tend to do is kind of one of these, because I kind of catch the jingles. If I just stay in one spot, I find that sometimes if I want a drier sound, that might be a little more resonance and a little more jingle sound that I'm looking for. So kind of following through with the stroke kind of makes a bit shorter jingle sound. And I like to just kind of go basically straight down without twisting the tambourine. The thing with this instrument is that if we do any kind of twists, we get a lot of extra sounds. Do you want to do a follow through, just kind of straight down with the tambourine? See how that sounds?
Like a fake drop kind of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh,
Okay.
we heard that one. Yeah, yeah. They love it. Very nice,
so
Mark.
much.
Yeah, of course. Cool. Now. All right. Now, so for shake rolls, because your students are going to play a ton of rolls on tambourine. For shake rolls, if everyone can kind of hold up their imaginary tambourine for a second here. What I like to do is to teach it, is just kind of have a vertical tambourine. We didn't like this for the single note, but for shake rolls where we want the sustain and we want to imitate like a synthesizer pressing a tambourine button, just this is gonna work out great for us. This angle. So if we just kind of do this and we go, huh? Very slowly and exaggerated. As I speed up a little bit, I'm going to decrease my angle and a little less motion. Relax the hand, and eventually, it might sound like a lot of motion, but it's really just like a very minimal amount of motion, not a super fast hand, but very relaxed wrist to get this sound. I'm just thinking about how can I kind of make the jingles go back and forth as quickly as possible. So in addition to the roll portion being this kind of middle part of the roll, there's the attack of the roll to kind of start it, and the release of the roll to kind of let the audience know like that's the end of the roll. So all together, I'll demonstrate just kind of what that sounds like. And I like to start and end here, because again, if I end here, we hear again the extra jingles. So the attack is just like a regular note, and then that kind of sort of prepares me to be here, followed by the release. Who would like to try a shake roll? Come on up. Cool. Got some spicy meatballs. Some encouragement. What's your name? One more time.
Dakota.
Oh, Dakota. Well, thanks for volunteering, Dakota. All right, so we'll take it slow. And are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm left-handed.
Left-handed, cool. So I'm gonna stand kind of over here so we can kind of see each other here. Now, I'll just start very slowly, and keep this very relaxed. Decrease the motion, but increase the speed. And then go ahead. From here. That's the idea. Yeah. Now, so we see kind of the arm and the wrist up, the arms kind of like this. What if we keep this parallel to the ground? You can kind of think about our kind of lollipop, kind of like I don't have any kind of angle of the tambourine away from my arm. It's just kind of all an extension of my arm, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And try that from here. We're getting somewhere, absolutely. Now, how about even a little less motion side to side? And yeah, maybe same volume, but just kind of with less twist. Maybe now a little faster shake. Okay, yeah. And this, you're going to see your students are going to kind of do the. It takes a while to kind of build up the comfort and the muscle memory to make the roll happen. And it can be a bit exhausting the first couple times. Now, can we add the attack and the release? So. Yeah, one more time. And for me, I like to just keep everything right here in front of me. Some students do all kinds of things that I just kind of, I think just keeping it efficient right here, easy peasy. One more time. Now see if we can close the gap between the attack, the roll, and the release. You hear like the very tiny gaps between them right now, right?
Right.
Let's hear it. That was better. Cool. Thank you very much, Dakota. Yeah. Thank you for volunteering. Hey, yeah. Absolutely.
Since he's left-handed, would it have been better for him to have done that with his left hand?
So this is the predicament for percussionists. And this is some right-hand students I've had prefer to roll with their right hand, but then it becomes a thing of like, well, the trade-off is now I have to play kind of everything else with my left hand. So that's if students are okay with that, then if they can achieve all of that with their non-dominant hand, then that's great. And so it's definitely not a wrong thing to do. The one wrong thing to do would be kind of if I want to play with my right hand but also roll with my right hand. thing, all the extraneous noise is where it's kind of, some students may not really be as bothered by that as we are, as kind of having been musicians for a while. But not a wrong thing to do dominant or non-dominant hand. Any other questions so far? So another popular technique is the finger roll, which kind of looks like a magic trick, but it's easier than it looks. So this is kind of great for like quieter rolls, whereas the shake roll is kind of more of a loud roll technique. I can use a finger roll for quieter rolls. And sometimes composers will specify finger roll. I think even Stravinsky sometimes, or Shostakovich, or one of those, someone whose name is, I can't remember right now, will specify thumb roll or finger roll. But would anyone like to learn how to do a finger roll? Come on up. Cool, 1%.
Finger rolls scare me. Like,
Yes.
Well,
That's why I'm learning how to do it.
Cool, your name is Mark?
Yep.
Cool, does anyone have a stopwatch?
Most times. I have one on my phone.
Cool, if you can get that out real quick, don't start it yet. But I taught a finger roll in 8 seconds a couple days ago, so we don't have to do it if we don't do it in 8 seconds, it's okay. But we can definitely do it in under a minute. What do you say?
Sure.
Cool. All right, and then are you right-handed or left-handed?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Perfect.
Let's do. Sorry, the
Oh, no, you're okay.
holding for this was.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can put I like to kind of grip the index and pinky for me, kind of grip around the frame, and then the middle and ring kind of go against the head here.
Yeah, I got it.
Let me see what you get. Yeah, if you want to show them. Don't take offense by the middle finger muffling. But all right, so are you ready to learn how to finger roll?
Yes.
Are you ready with the stopwatch?
Yes.
All right, count us down.
3, 2, 1, go.
Cool, so we're going to keep a 45-degree angle with the tambourine. I'm going to take my thumb and place it under this knuckle here, kind of right under this crease on my dominant hand. You kind of see this? Absolutely, yeah. And all we're doing is just kind of bouncing the finger across. So a little bit of pressure into the tambourine. Time.
8 seconds.
Hey, 19, that's fantastic, yeah. Cool.
Ah.
Cool.
Okay. So the basically creating a stopping point right here makes this finger just kind of bounce on the. Okay.
Yeah, I think Mark's going to teach the rest of the class from now on. He's got it figured out. This is great. Yeah, how about some more?
Oh no, yeah, just. Ooh.
So if we hear the more kind of head sound, that's because that'll be just because we're not really kind of following the jingles for finger roll, just because it's kind of just such a kind of focused technique. I like to just follow.
So you want to be like the tensest part of the.
Yeah, kind of
right
just about over the rim, kind of as close to the jingles as I can get.
Oh.
Now, what about
Is
a little less pressure?
I was about to say the pressure is.
Yeah, it's something to experiment with. It's kind of there's definitely a sweet spot.
Will every tambourine do that, or do you need one that has a special cool?
Yeah, I've heard that some people like wax their tambourine heads or
Yes.
something like that in order
Absolutely.
to achieve that sound.
Let me see. I brought my wax. Let's see. Yeah, no, but anyway, I use wax.
I'm just gonna play around with this. And,
Yeah. So every tambourine, most tambourines, at least every black swap tambourine, does come with some beeswax here, and I can kind of show you how I do this. I've already got some on here, as you can see, but just I take the beeswax and kind of just marks kind of towards the rim, a couple of lines. I recognize these folks. Come on in. Okay, you're late. Cool. The high school honors percussion group here.
do you ever adjust the dampening when you do a finger roll, or do you mostly just keep it dampened?
I usually keep it dampened just to kind of, and I find it kind of keeps the sound focused more on the jingle. What would it sound like undampened?
That's a good question. Oh, we immediately get boom behind that
yeah.
sound.
But I like it. What I love to say to my percussion method students is, you're thinking like a percussionist. So
Experiment.
yeah, we're always problem solving every single minute of rehearsal. Check our time.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you
so
very much, Mark. Cool. Now, you might be thinking, tamborine's $150. I can't afford a tambourine for every student. Well, I brought my practice tambourine today. In fact, I bought it across the street yesterday. So I bought this actually for 1% of the price, about $1.50 after tax.
Hold that up.
Oh yes. And now, is it exactly the same as this? Not really, but it feels very similar grip-wise. I can practice all the same things.
Can I hear a finger roll?
Finger roll, you say?
Oh.
So, your students don't have an excuse anymore. They can practice their tambourine parts. You see this high school honors group? Just kidding. You're not. No one's safe anymore from excuses. So, for right now, just for time's sake, I'm gonna keep going. I'm happy to answer any other questions later. There's more things in the tambourine video, some more extended techniques, some more advanced techniques. But for right now, let's talk about triangle. So there was I remember specifically one orchestra rehearsal I had in my undergrad, and I practiced this triangle part for whatever the piece was. And at the end of the run, the director said, "That's some fine triangle playing back there," and the whole orchestra laughed. And yeah, I know. They don't. This is a sophisticated instrument, more so than it looks, or one might think. Students might kind of look at this and go, "Okay, what about it?" But there's a lot of things we can do with this. Just like we found on tambourine, there's a huge dynamic contrast with this instrument. I have my triangle and my clip and my beater, so let's kind of break this down a little bit. Can everyone make we're doing a lot of hand shapes today, I realize. Can we do a C shape? Well, now can we just split the index and the middle finger? And we're going to kind of hold our glass, or if you will, with this kind of strange hand shape. So the mouth of my triangle clip is going to go facing the audience for intimidation, I guess. And then the other side will go right on top of the thumb. So one more time, we do the C shape, we split index and middle, and we just balance atop right here. So now I've got my loop here, where I just loop the triangle. There's always one open end on the triangle. I personally like to have that on my non-dominant side, and we'll talk about why in just a moment. With my beater, there's all kinds of different beaters. This one is a Stessel beater. You don't have to know exactly the name of that, but you'll see some that look like this that are super thin down here and thicker up here at the top. Some are just kind of like just this kind of thickness all the way down. They all achieve the same things for general kind of playing. You don't need to spend a bajillion dollars on a set of triangle beaters. I think I got a set of 6 triangle beaters for like less than $50. And you'll probably want to have a set and keep all of them but one in your office in a secret drawer because they will go missing. We have a question?
I was going to address the beaters disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Tractor Supply and I bought 1/8" brass rods.
Okay.
They lose and just keep flipping.
Okay.
I've also heard a director of mine in college said that he had used, this is wild, but railway spikes.
Oh.
So that he had, I think, trimmed down.
That's fascinating. Okay.
Just, if they lost him, he just got more.
I used a tuba mouthpiece once in middle school, and my band director really didn't like that. But it sounded great, to be fair. With our triangle beater, I like to stay pretty close to the end. It's not really like a snare stick grip necessarily. We could hit a triangle with this. I personally just kind of like to be a bit further back and have a bit more of the kind of the rubber pencil thing going on with the beater here. For general triangle playing, even though we have 3 sides and they all look really tempting, I'm going to stay on the bottom, right in the middle. Let's just kind of see how this sounds. Absolutely. Now, as far as something that we may not really think about so much, the angle of the beater makes a big difference. Let me go to this triangle that has a little less overtones in it. So no funny business here. Well, for me, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to play with a totally vertical beater, just like this. Let's see how this sounds. Keep this sound in your mind. Totally horizontal beater. Now keep that sound in your mind. Now, 45-degree angle. Oop. I saw some eyebrows. So, I can't explain the science behind it because I just played drums. But but we heard the kind of pure tone here, like one pitch, right? And then one here. something about this angle just kind of combines. It vibrates all kinds of things in this in this instrument to then make kind of all those tones combine. And this can blend a lot more with like any piece you're playing. So this is about a B flat roughly. So if I'm playing something in the key of A, it might be a little bit. Something's going to sound kind of off. Whereas I kind of want to be more kind of like at the angle and just kind of sound less like a kind of a bell tone and more of like just a shimmery triangle. It's a little bit more like a chameleon in that way when we strike it at the 45-degree angle. Would anyone like to try triangle? Oh, you have a question?
Question, and I'd like to try.
Okay.
Is that information in your video?
Yes.
The angle of the beta?
Absolutely, yeah. If I remember correctly, I do the kind of different demonstrations in the video. Yes. So would you like to come try out? Cool.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Which do you prefer, like the clean sound or like the kind of tones fighting?
So there's kind of a couple applications for either one. For general playing, I like the more kind of the one with the more overtones. This sound here. We'll talk when we get to rolls. We'll talk about some uses for playing with a more kind of like focused sound. Let's see. So I'll let you use this triangle here.
So do you hold the triangle in your dominant hand, or do you hold the mallet in your dominant hand?
I do the beater in my dominant hand and the triangle in my non-dominant.
Okay.
So we'll do. I'll let you hold this in your dominant hand for a second. So we have the C. We split the index in the middle, and then you just kind of balance the mouth over here.
Towards sides.
Oh yeah, so flip it around.
Right.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Yes. The mouth over there, and then the kind of the spring over here. We have the loop down there, and now you can just kind of loop this on, or you can add this to the loop. Yeah, I'll let you do the honors.
And you said away the whole away from
Yes.
your
Yeah.
non-dominant side.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll get into exactly why we do that actually in just a moment. But how about just and then I'll have you flip the triangle beater over. You could use the small end of these types of beaters. I don't think you would get pulled over for it. But let's see how this one sounds.
So 3 sounds or just the good sound?
Just I don't know. There's all kinds of good sounds on triangles. Let's see what you got. Okay. How about some more? Okay. Got any more? It's fun, right?
It's kind of scary.
Awesome. Okay. So now let's talk about
How you hold this? Is there a...
So what you're doing is great. Yeah, I kind of, for me, it's about kind of between like index, middle, and thumb. And again, kind of I'm very loose. Kind of got the rubber pencil thing going on here. Very wiggly beater, as I like to say. So now, what would happen if so we're in the center? What would happen if we kind of start to work our way towards this closed corner? How would that affect the sound? Now, what if we play, or can you play, like, how close can you get to this closed corner on that bottom arm? Now go back to the center. Let's compare.
Do you dampen it before, generally speaking? I suppose it depends on the music.
Yeah. We'll talk about dampening as well in just a moment. And then back to the closed corner. Cool. And then can we get it even softer in the closed corner? Okay. So now I bet we can get even softer. So if we're striking here, what would happen if we kind of strike more towards the very tip of the beater? I like that. Again. Ooh, did you hear that? Hardly. That was super soft. That was awesome. Cool. Well, bravo.
Thank you.
You can catch all that right here. Yes. So for dampening, go back to that triangle in a moment. Because sometimes we do want a long sound, and we want it to ring all the way to just eternity. Sometimes we want to stop it really quickly because the band is playing a pop, and we don't want. So can anyone take their kind of invisible triangle beater? We've got our C. We split this up, and now pretend I don't know, someone just said something that kind of offended you, and you're just kind of like, huh? What? That kind of like you're confused about something someone said. So when I play this and I do that, right? So this is one way to muffle. there's all kinds of other ways to muffle too. Sometimes I go with kind of like, since I have these two fingers kind of free, they're not really holding the triangle, I can kind of get in there and kind of grab the triangle like that. That's one way to do it. What you can do, another kind of sort of magic trick that I like to show students, is if you have time, you can kind of take one finger and muffle the open corner. Yeah, it's kind of insane. It's a little bit overtone there, but so there's the muffling, there's the dynamics. The next thing we can talk about before we get someone else up here is triangle rolls. So with our wiggly beater, and a big reason why we do the wiggly beater is because when we play rolls, we do have to. We don't want to do the kind of this one that we've probably seen before. Yes, the dinner's ready roll. Why might we not want to do the dinner's ready roll? A lot of energy. It might make me a little hangry. But also, if I go really slowly, we kind of listen to each of these sounds. There's so many sounds built into every single triangle, and if we're doing this, if you got really good at it, you could probably hit the same 3 spots, and maybe it would be fine. But for me, I like to do, if I could just find 2 spots to go back and forth between, then I'm super excited. So now I'm going to be kind of moving at a bit of an angle so I can go between this bottom arm and the side closest to my dominant hand. If everyone can see that. So with my angled beater, I'm going to kind of strike here, and then again, just kind of with my wiggly hand, kind of just move it up. So I'm striking now the other side of the beater on the other side of the triangle. This is also on the video as well. I know I'm moving quickly, but again, it's just the curse of percussion, never having enough time. You can practice this with muffled triangle to kind of, like if I have my pinky wrapped around it, I can kind of check my sound quality and my rhythm to make sure I have a clean do-gu-do-gu-do-gu-do-gu. If I start to do this, and when I open it up, we kind of hear the ba-dum, 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 kind of the gallop. If I could even my rhythm out, we're moving from do-gu-do-gu-do-gu-do-gu-do to and any instrument we roll on in percussion, we're trying to create that illusion of sustained sound. Again, we went from the tambourine note on the synthesizer to the triangle note. Is what we're looking for rather than. Mario had asked about the angle of the beater. So if we do this for a roll, so if I go from here to here, notice what happens to the sound. So this is with the angle to start. What do we notice?
Brightened it up or brought out a kind of an overtone in the sound.
Yeah. It definitely brightened up the sound. Sorry, let me get back into. I'll get back into that in a moment. And it might have also, on a lot of triangles, will kind of make it even more articulate. We get less of the shimmer and more of the kind of digga sound, which could be good then for rhythmic stuff if we have something kind of like dup digga dup 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 digga dup dup. We might actually like that sound more than the angled. On some triangles, it might sound clearer to do the flatter beater than this. So there's lots. We get to experiment and again kind of figure out what sounds best and most characteristic to us as the percussionists. Would anyone like to try a triangle roll? Anyone who hasn't been up, we can have Mario up again. All right, come on up.
While she's setting up with beginners, would you recommend them just kind of go for the 16th note skeleton when they're learning how to do the excuse me, do the rolls?
I would start with the 16th note roll skeleton. Yeah, I'll let you go ahead and do the clip. And then
It's like a brandy sifter.
yeah, with 16th notes, particularly with the very wiggly beater, this is kind of unlike most things we do with percussion. Like we're kind of used to having more control, but the wiggly beater and kind of controlling the rhythm with the wiggle takes a little bit of practice to get the hang. But then eventually, kind of speeding up while not really working too hard to speed up. Again, kind of we see like it's not a lot of this, but just kind of like more subtle motion, if that makes sense, as they kind of start to speed up. Are you left-handed?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, cool. So we got the clip, and we'll do the thumb actually underneath the spring, and that way you can kind of spread out the hand a bit more If you go kind of even like under that piece of wood, so on the bottom of.
Wait,
That?
No, wait.
Yes.
Wait.
That one.
That
the with the loop in the middle. Yes, this one absolutely.
Oh.
Cool. You got it. You got it. So I've seen it all. Trust me. So here's your triangle. I'll let you do so the open corner will go towards your right hand then, since we'll be playing with the left hand. So I'm gonna get my my pre-cooked triangle out of the oven.
Smells like chocolate chip cookies. Hey, I worked in elementary music. Yeah, anything. Anything.
Yes. We gotta keep it interesting. So first, can I just see a very wiggly beater? How do we feel about that? They look pretty wiggly? I think it looks pretty wiggly. Now, can we just kind of from here, we'll start here, and we're gonna kind of go at a 45-degree wiggle here. So we'll go between the two kind of. It's okay. It sounds great. It's hard to sound bad on a triangle, by the way. But we'll go between we'll go basically kind of close in the closed corner with our beater, kind of drawing a smaller triangle, if you will. In this closed corner. Yeah, so we'll kind of just see the down and the up and the down and the up. All right, so that's a really good start. So now, what will affect the sound is, especially if we're here, and I'm going to kind of do it this way. If we're here and we rotate up and we go from the center of the beater to the tip of the beater, that will kind of give us some different sounds. So now we can kind of wiggle, but try to stay on the same spot of the beater on each of the arms.
Like that.
Yeah, we'll see what that sounds like.
Well, I don't know. Find out.
Okay.
Dinner.
Now, Emily, what if we wanted a really soft roll? Really quiet roll?
Well, then you wouldn't do it at all.
Great answer. Oh, okay. So what'd you change?
I just moved it closer to the closed angle because I was paying attention.
And notice where she is on the beater. She's all the way at the tippy tip.
Because that's how I taught my pre-K 3 class how to do triangles.
Nice. Oh, so you have some experience. Okay, I see.
Yeah, you get about 20 of those.
I see. Cool. Well, thank you very much, Emily.
Absolutely.
Take a place over there. Thank you. Now, a typical triangle will probably cost somewhere between $100 and $150. And I know what you're thinking. I can't buy a triangle for every one of my students. Well,
You pull out a box of macaroni, yeah.
well, I bet every student has one of these at home. And a pencil. If you need to leave early, feel free. Oh, gotcha. Yes. So close. This is a little bit bigger, of course, than our standard triangle. Which, by the way, this is probably like a 6 to 8 inch triangle. Around that size is what I would recommend for kind of middle school or high school or professional college professor. But they could practice, moving between the center of the bottom arm to the edge, rolls, different parts of their pencil or whatever they choose, the chopstick if they want to use that. But again, your students don't have any excuse to not practice their triangle parts now, as long as they have clothes. Again, if there's any questions about triangle later on, I'd be happy to answer more. For right now, we're gonna keep the marathon rolling for our last instrument. Go ahead and get the QR code up one more time, just in case. We're gonna talk about crash cymbals. So with crash cymbals, we finally get to hold an instrument in both hands now. This is exciting. So these are some Zildjian crash cymbals, and I'll take a quick step back, and then I'll step over here, and I'll mention, just like I mentioned with tambourine, this is a Grover triangle. You can also get a Black Swamp percussion triangle. Those are going to be some really great triangles for any, and again, very price comparable between the two companies. I don't have any affiliation with either one, so I won't say one's better than the other. I'm not contractually obligated to do so. So with cymbals, I am contractually obligated to say Zildjian cymbals are the best cymbals on the market. That's Zildjian, Zildjian Sabian cymbals are also cymbals, and I used them all the time before I couldn't. I'm a Zildjian educator, which is why I have to say the Zildjians are the best cymbals, and you should always have Zildjian cymbals. But so with our crash cymbal, has everyone held like a drumstick before? Or you kind of know about the pinch of the drumstick. I kind of see some drumstick, some air drumsticks here. We have our thumb kind of about on between our two knuckles here. So we have our fulcrum here. That's going to apply here as well with crash cymbals. Here I have a strap. You'll see all kinds of other handles and things. I don't like the wooden handles personally. It's a lot of extra weight to an already pretty heavy piece of metal. These are nylon straps, these are leather straps. You can also get nylon straps. And we're not going to go inside the strap like you see with marching band. You could do that with marching band. That's more for kind of like specific visual things, and because they're holding the cymbals for a long time on the field. We don't want to drop them, so it's like, well, let's just kind of keep them attached here. For concert playing, we don't really have the time to kind of do this. We usually have to play a crash and then zoom over to the marimba. So we're going to just kind of do our fulcrum like we did for the drumstick. I'm going to kind of balance this strap kind of on my, where I would kind of have my drumstick on my index finger, and I kind of put my thumb either kind of right on here, or some people kind of prefer like a little bit of an angle of the thumb, but it's really kind of personal preference and what feels the best. And when I say what feels the best, it's kind of what kind of gives me the most control of the cymbal. If I'm too far away from the dome of the cymbal, I'm having a great time. But right on the cymbal, and in fact, I'm actually touching the dome of the cymbal right now, which isn't really going to affect the vibration much. If I do one of these, and I try to muffle from the dome, it's not going to do anything. So I can touch there a little bit. The most vibration you're going to get from a cymbal is going to be from the edge of the cymbal. I can muffle it with one pinky. And that's for suspended cymbal, crash cymbal, you name it cymbal. The most vibrations are going to be on the outside of the cymbal. So I'm actually, like, I have skin on the cymbal here. When I hold the cymbals then, and I hold this one the same way, it's kind of balanced on my index finger here, thumb, for me, kind of, I guess I'm a little bit of an angle compared to maybe how I would do my snare sticks. I have my non-dominant cymbal at this kind of 45-ish degree angle. I like to do my dominant hand cymbal on top. You can do this however you want, either one on top, either one on bottom. It's all personal preference, and it's all going to make basically the same sounds. But for me, I kind of like to just kind of have my dominant cymbal on top with cymbals. Like I said, these are really heavy, which is why I don't have a trap table. I have this computer chair, but if you have a chair or something the students can put the cymbals down on when they're not playing, they're going to be a lot happier. So that you don't want them to have to hold the cymbal all the time. With my cymbals here, I have not aligned cymbals, but I like to have a little bit of an offset, because if I am exactly in line here, it's a bit of a kind of with the cymbal, with the edges line up. You can even hear if I just kind of slide the cymbals for a second. See that kind of chunk sound when we get to the aligned edges. We want to avoid that, so we can avoid that by having a bit of an offset and crashing the cymbals with. I can see kind of about an inch of my bottom cymbal when I crash. Now, can everyone hold out just their hands for a second like this? And I should say we can kind of relax them towards us. We're going to be holding heavy plates with these. Now we'll put our non-dominant cymbal on the bottom. Now let's just kind of put our hands together. Now a little bit of an offset, so kind of bringing my dominant thumb down. I like to be able to see my offset, which is why I kind of have the top cymbal come over a little bit. Now what we don't want to do with cymbals, because there's a lot of metal, it's going to do a lot of the work for you. We don't want to do that or that. We want to, yeah, like a floppy fish We can do that. We can try this one as well. Our kind of bottom cymbal is also a fairly floppy fish, I would say. And we kind of then can do those in combination. Two floppy fishes meet in the middle. What I'm also thinking about before I have cymbals in my hands, and I would do this with students before they have cymbals in their hands as well, I'm staying in this vertical, I want to stay like kind of right in front of me in a vertical plane. Gravity is going to help us out a lot with these heavy plates. Oh, that's time, okay. If you need to leave, that is time. If you have time to stick around, we can wrap this up in about 5 minutes, but if you need to leave.
If you need to leave, go, but we're going to keep going with the recording for maybe 5-10 more minutes.
Cool.
But if you need to go, just sneak out that way.
Sure, and I won't be offended, and thank you for your time. And thank you for your time sign as well. So I want to stay in this vertical plane here and not really disrupt gravity by kind of crashing out this way or anything like that. So what this kind of looks like with the cymbals and with the angle and the offset is something like this, something like this. When they meet together, again with my floppy fish sound, I'm not going to crash super loud, but you can cover your ears if you want to. This is like zero effort from me at the moment. Like I'm really not trying to make a loud crash or anything. The plates do 95% of the work. I don't have to ever the cymbals together. In fact, that's just usually going to make worse sounds if I put a lot of extra effort or force into it. You also kind of hear, maybe you hear the kind of. So in slow motion, what I'm actually doing is making contact here. Why do I do this? Because when I do that, we kind of have some vibration of the cymbals, and that kind of tends to kind of make them activating more overtones and kind of vibrations in the cymbal for when they finally meet. If I do it without the flam, without just the compared to, so you definitely hear a difference, I think. It's a much fuller sound when the cymbals are already vibrating before they strike. Would anyone like to try some crashes? Come on up.
I also have a question.
Oh, yeah, what's up?
Well, it might be easier for you to kind of do it with cymbals.
Sure, yeah.
So, would you ever go in like from a front angle, or is it always like the bottom angle?
I've seen a lot of people do like a front angle kind of, so like the is more up here, and then they kind of let gravity kind of bring the cymbal down the rest of the way. That sounds pretty good to me. Can we hear that again? Okay, one more of those. One more time.
Yeah.
Now, how would it sound and feel to kind of do the down here?
Now, when I do it, it would be like contact right there.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the offset. Do you have a preference between those two sounds?
Not particularly. I think it'd be easier for like a beginner to aim for up top where they can see it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's easier for like a professional sense to.
Perhaps.
I guess it's not really too big a difference.
It's all personal preference for
Yeah.
sure. Now, the crash you did earlier, and we can go back to the kind of the up here if you like. Can you give us one more crash?
Sure.
I call that about a mezzo forte. How about a forte? So it doesn't need, again, we don't need a lot of but just a little more space for the cymbals to travel before they contact each other. And you're going to see a lot of the kind of the horizontal crashes. See if we can kind of let gravity kind of crash for you. That was a good crash.
Thanks.
You ever done this before?
No.
Wow. Okay. How about a really soft crash? So just less space between the plates now. Can we get them even kind of like, if these are the cymbals, can we kind of get like a here-ish and then? Okay. One more. Very nice. Cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Last thing I'll talk about with cymbals is the muffle. Oh, sorry, you had a question?
My kids are kind of tiny, right, middle school age. Do you recommend getting, like, what size cymbals? I feel like mine are, like, not their size, but I might be wrong.
So I recommend what a good rule of thumb I've heard is like kind of or a decent rule of thumb I've heard is whatever the student's age is +2, like that's the number of kind of inches of the cymbal. So something for middle school, typically like 14 to 16 inch cymbals is going to be plenty. Still be kind of heavy for them, but they can maneuver the cymbals and play them for longer periods of time. These are 18 inch cymbals, which I would recommend for high school, for college. But even then, at that point, we use 16 inch and 14 inch cymbals sometimes for kind of special effects and things. The 20 inch cymbals over here that I was holding a second ago were kind of making my arms feel awful. I was trying to hide it, but yeah, generally age +2 is kind of a pretty good rule of thumb that I've heard. I need to move my name tag for this one because we're going to talk about cymbal muffles very quickly. The crash muffles. Sometimes, like I talk about with triangle, we don't want the long crash. We want the crash choke. So, 3-step process. So we can do this with our invisible cymbals. Step 1 is the crash. Floppy fish. Oh, I heard a lot of this. Floppy. Much better. That's step 1. Step 2, muffle. Step 3 is the most important part, and it's the one that students don't think about as much, but it's the reset of the playing position. If we just do crash muffle, suddenly we're not really setting ourselves up for success anymore. And it kind of starts to sound like those are like 4 different sounding crashes. But if I think crash muffle release or crash muffle reset, my success rate is going to be a lot higher generally. Would anyone like to try a crash muffle? We try this maybe if you want to come up and try it afterward. And I will say these don't feel fantastic. I do use my stomach here. I don't want to go up to like my rib cage or my sternum or anything. No bones, but using my kind of my stomach here to kind of dampen the cymbals again on the edges that are most resonant anyway. And if that hurts, if you don't want to dig into your body a whole lot, which I totally understand, you can also do kind of a rotation, kind of catching just more of the edges of the cymbal. And I talk about all these things in my video as well. If you want to watch that from the QR code. And I think for right now, unfortunately, I have overtime. But thank you so much for your attention and your patience and your vulnerability of trying some instruments. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have after this class. So thank you very much.